Well, I actually wanted to start by talking about the kind of the nature of comedic films, because for me, and I'm different than a lot of people apparently, because I was talking to them in the other room. I just, for comedies, most of the time, I watch a comedy once, and then after that, I don't really watch it again because there's not much beyond the, just the trying to get you laugh the first time. Mm-hmm. But this is a movie that I've seen twice and I want to see again because there's so much more substance there. And it's the same thing with The Descendants. I watch The Descendants quite often. And I wonder, when y'all approach this, do you approach it from a dramatic standpoint and then just kind of add comedy? Or do you approach it as comedians, and trying to write a comedy and then the drama comes in after?
I think we've always tried to think of a dramatic situation that inherently has some kind of humor within it, because I think it's always reflecting on something that might have happened to you or seems very, oh my God, shocking. And it's such a great place to sort of start, and mine the comedy out of the tough things we all go through, because I think that's where comedy comes from, a lot of pain. I think stand-ups pull from things they've experienced, their own lives. We're storytellers, so when we're telling a story, we're telling probably the most entertaining, and that's going to have dramatic elements, and I find that to be richer comedy. Where you're not chasing the dramatic thing at the end because you're like, oh, we got to tack on some heart, so let's have them suddenly fall for each other. But you have to start from the beginning. You have to have stakes that your characters are going through that are severe sometimes, and that's where you're going to find the funniest stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, because when you're watching it, when you watch most comedies, it's kind of like, what's the most shocking thing you can do next? But like you said, when you draw from the situation, that also makes it funny the next time that you watch it, because you can organically kind of connect with that.
I wanted to do a lot of gross out humor.
Yes.
Jim wouldn't allow it.
That's Nat's forte.
That's kind of my go-to.
Yeah. He wanted all the characters to be farting the whole movie.
That's funny. That is funny.
It is. It is. Maybe not more than once.
No, yeah, exactly.
And actually, like you were talking about drawing from, your own life, how much of this film does draw from you guys' lives? And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about what you drew directly from your own experiences.
Little pieces, the very first scene is sort of, ripped from verbatim from something that happened to me. I mean, it was pretty much the exact same thing as far as like being 14, being in a car, going to our summer vacation. My stepfather asked me what I was on a scale from 1 to 10. I said 6, he said 3. And so we sort of started with that sort of launch, But I think, we always put something into all the characters that is pulled from our own lives,
Yeah, we also, had a mutual admiration and love for water parks and going to them as kids, and fond memories of being dropped off there, and so we had, like Jim said, a lot of pieces that we were just trying to put into one thing, and like you said, it was important for the balance of the movie to match up, so that that the stuff, the more dramatic elements and the stuff that was going on maybe at the house, and the little slightly broader stuff that was going on in the water park belonged in the same movie, and so that, I think, was our hope from the beginning, that it all blended.
Oh, and it does. I mean, it absolutely does. And you were talking about, so your stepfather, is that close to the Steve Carell character? Because really, to me, the Steve Carell character is like one of the most fascinating characters in the whole thing. I was talking about them in there, because they were saying, oh man, he's such a dirtbag. And I was like, yeah, but isn't he like a really complicated dirtbag?
Yes.
Like, are all the dirtbags in real life, they're like very multi-dimensional. It's like, they're not trying to be a dirtbag.
No.
They just inherently are.
Well, yeah, it's like,
that's the way we are.
We're inherently dirty
but we're
dirtbags.
Very complicated.
Yeah, we just put on a smile. No, Steve's version of my stuff is definitely a heightened version. I'm certainly not saying that it was that rough, but we did have that conversation. And I think he thought the message was good. And I think Trent thinks this message is very good. I think he was raised by his father to go out and be independent and go and make something of yourself. And the design of him is to obviously be opposite of Owen, who says the same message but says come in and is supportive, and says go into that, you know, put this t-shirt on, you're official. There's no reason you can't do this on your own. And there's support there, you know. And I don't think Trent thinks that he's doing a bad thing right here. Now, that said, yes, he's a jerk. Yes, he's, you know, this tragic male character who says all these things that he wants. He wants family. He wants, you know, them to be a team. But then his actions don't do that because he's got some vicious sort of cycle problems that are left over. And I do think that you want to look at him and understand the sympathy that you could have for someone like this. I don't think Nat and I like to shy away from ever putting enough warts into a character that make them complicated. Because I think everyone can say, oh, I have a Trent in my life. I don't want them in my life, but I sympathize because I really hope they snap out of it because they're their own worst enemy. So I think we're sometimes, all characters can't be this sort of arc and evolve into this likable person, because I would argue that I find it very hard to believe that everyone in your life changes and has this great moment of epiphany. Yeah. We all evolve and we hope that we can learn from our mistakes, but Trent can't learn from his mistakes, and he knows it. He knows absolutely what he's doing and why he's doing it and how wrong he is, but he can't stop.
Yeah, and see, it means a lot to me that I can ask that question and you can explain everything like that. Because there's so many characters in these movies that it's like, oh, well, you know, he's just the bad guy, you know? Yeah. And it's so great to see that you've fleshed out the background, and it comes across in the movie. It may not be explained, but it comes across in the movie, and I think that means a lot.
That's good. I mean, we talked a lot about, you know, about that with Steve as well, you know, and had a lot of those conversations, and I think, you know, we did collectively take a cerebral approach to it, and it was like, you know, this is a guy who has worked hard all year and busted his ass, and now he's got a vacation and he goes to his beach house and he wants to have a good time and he doesn't want a parent anymore. Right. You know, his daughter is older and she's, you know, almost on her own, and he's sort of done with that chapter of his life, and he wants to, you know, hang out with his girlfriend and party with his friends, and the last thing he wants to do is worry about some kid, you know. So it was fun to be able to get into that and to have somebody like Steve, you know, have the courage to play a guy like that.
And it works. It works really well. Honestly, I wish I could talk all day about that, because that arc I've actually thought about a number of times. The last question I wanted to ask, did you guys always know that this particular thing was going to be your directorial debut, or do you feel like the Descendants kind of pushed you into, okay, well, yeah, I think we can direct this movie and not just write it?
Yeah, no, I don't think we always knew. I think it was, you know, we wrote this 8 years ago, and we just sort of put it out there, and I think, you know, early on in our careers it was, you know, we were greener, and I think we oftentimes didn't want to upset, you know, anybody or the momentum that anything had, and so it was just sort of like, yeah, do whatever, you know, hopefully we can get this made, you know. And the movie, you know, almost happened several times, and with many different directors, and then finally, you know, as the years went on and as time passed, I think we obviously became more passionate about sort of seeing the vision from start to finish, and knowing that, you know, in film you really have to be the director for that to achieve that. So you know, when we finally got the script back into our hands and we kind of cleared the decks and just started over, we sort of became, you know, we had the experience a little bit to be a little bit more bullish, and certainly the Oscars helped provide a little momentum. Right. It didn't come to us on a silver platter by any means. It still was an uphill struggle, but you know, I think it helped at least legitimize us maybe in some way, that, you know, and provided us with maybe a little bit more confidence to sort of say, we're going to do it.
Like I said, I really enjoyed the movie. I'm probably going to go see it again.
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Come on. You got a hell of a kid here.
Hold, please. Hold. Just hold there.